Hello everyone, Mr. Stevens here. Today we're starting our second last unit on loans and depreciation. And the first thing we're going to be looking at is depreciation. This is the formula we're going to be using. I'd like you all to write it down. I hope you might notice that this is very similar to a formula we used back in our other financial maths unit, compound interest. So the only difference here is that instead of it increasing the amount, we're actually going to be decreasing the amount here. Because that's what depreciation is. The value of the item is decreasing over time. So let's jump straight into some examples. Here is one where Eva has purchased a new car 2 years ago and the initial value was $32,000. In the first year it depreciated by 25% and the second year it depreciated an extra 20% of its value after the first year. So we're going to try and find the value of the car at the end of those 2 years. So all we have to do is use our formula, where V0 is the initial value, R is the interest rate, and N is the number of time periods. In this case, we're only calculating it for the first year, so N is just 1. And if you put that into your calculator, the answer is 24,000. So that's how much the value has depreciated after 1 year. So then to find the current value at the end of 2 years, we need to just apply this formula again. But this time, instead of V0 being the initial value of the car, it's actually going to be the value at the end of the first year. Everything else is just the same though. And if we put this into our calculator, we get $19,200. And that's the value of the car after the second year. All right. Some other things you might be asked to do is, similarly to when we did compound interest, sometimes we'll be asked to calculate something from the formula that is not just S, which is the salvage value or the resale price of the item. In this case, we're asked to find how much Angus paid for the car, which is going to be V0. So, what we'll do to solve these kinds of questions, the same way we did it with compound interest, let's just fill everything we know into the formula. And now we want V0 to be by itself. So what we need to do is just divide both sides of the equation by this whole term here. On this side it cancels out, and then it is now on this side of the equation. Now, if you put this into your calculator, you get the answer, which is something like this. And the question asks you to answer to the nearest dollar, so we'll round off and the answer is 78,504. That was what the car was initially purchased for. Let's do one more example here where we're not calculating S. This time we're actually looking to calculate R. So this one's going to be a little bit more difficult. But we're going to start the same way. We're going to fill in everything we know from the formula. And the time period is 4 years. So we know everything except R. Now, we'll start off with the same process as before. We'll divide by the numbers that we know, move them over to this side. So now we have 1 minus R to the power of 4 equals this. And now we want to undo this to the power of 4. So we're actually going to... Your calculator has a button to do this operation. It's not the square root or the cubed root, it's the fourth root. If you're not sure how to do this, just ask me about it in class and I'll show you how to do this operation with your calculator. And now all we have to do, I'm going to continue answering the answer up there, is our equation looks like this now. So now all we need to do is basically swap the place of these two things. R is going to equal 1 minus this whole term we have here. And now this can go into our calculator because we have it as R equals . And your calculator is going to read out something like that. So we're asked to answer to the nearest whole number. So we'll round to there, and the answer will be 26%. Now, if you're a bit uncomfortable with working with equations like this and rearranging formulas to isolate the thing that you want, which in our case was R, I want you to let me know, because this is kind of an important part of this unit, because you will get a lot of questions like this where you're not just asked to find S, you're asked to find one of these two values. And if that's the case, if that's something that you still struggle with, I want to give you some revision of equations that will help you be a bit more comfortable with this process. But you'll get a chance to practice it here, and I just want you to make sure that if you get to one of these questions where you need to rearrange the formula and you're not comfortable with it, that you ask me for some help. So you're going to be going to exercise 8A and start from question 1, and then just do all the even numbered questions after that. Thanks, guys.